There is no photo of me on the wall behind me, no trophy in the cabinet, no helmet on the shelf. The people who walk into my office in Beverly Hills do not know who I used to be. That is exactly how I want it. Let me show you something. Two things I said, 2 decades apart. In 1998, right after I won the World Superbike title, I told an American reporter something. I said, I can do whatever I want. There are no limits. If I decide to do something, I do it. No one can stop me. 22 years later, another reporter showed me that old quote. Asked if that was really me, I told him one word, absolutely. But there is a third sentence I said in between. I said it in 2019, to a magazine in Italy. I never felt I was good enough. 3 sentences, 1 man. This video is about the space between no limits and not good enough, about what fell into that space, and why nobody has ever told that story. I want to tell it backwards. Start where I am today. End on the night everything began. Let us start where I disappeared. 1999, Argentina. Buenos Aires. The 7th of November, 1999. The last Grand Prix of the season. Hot afternoon. Half-empty grandstands. On my leather suit, there was no sponsor logo across the chest. My team that year, Kanemoto Honda, had no sponsor at all. That is a strange thing to see on a rider who had been a world champion twice. I finished 7th in the race, nothing special, nothing terrible. Then something happened that I did not notice at the time, but I remember it now like a scene from a silent film. I walked back to my garage. The paddock was already emptying, the journalists had gone, the teams were packing crates, nobody stopped me, nobody asked me a question, nobody asked for a photo, nobody said good race, nobody said see you next season. I was 31 years old, a 2-time world champion, and I walked out of that circuit the way an amateur rider walks out of a Saturday night race. 20 years later, when I think about that day, I cannot remember the face of anyone who was standing near me, because nobody was standing close enough to be remembered. Let me show you how the world saw my exit. Niall Mackenzie, the British rider, later told Visor-Down magazine he made a quiet exit from international racing. This gifted and difficult American exited international racing in 1999 with Honda's only RC45 World Championship. That was the polite version. Cycle World, 5 years earlier, in 1994, had already put the harder words on paper. They wrote, Kocinski has been anointed with a reputation as an ornery, compulsive, difficult maverick capable of temper tantrums. Ornery, compulsive, difficult, maverick. Those were the words that walked out of Buenos Aires with me. Not champion, not legend. Those 4. When you spend a whole career pushing people away, you should not be surprised the day nobody is left to say goodbye. 2 years earlier, 1997, World Superbike Championship. Castrol Honda gave me the seat that Carl Fogarty had just vacated. They gave me the RC45, a bike Honda had never won a World Superbike title with. I won 9 races that season. I gave Honda their first and only title with that machine. Now let me tell you what happened at the last race. Sentul, Indonesia. The season was already decided. I was the champion. My teammate, Aaron Slight, needed to win that race to finish 2nd in the championship. If he did, Castrol Honda would take a 1-2 finish, a historic result for the team. Last lap, Slight passed me early. All I had to do was follow him home. That was the decent thing to do. I did not do it. I repassed him. My move nearly took out his front wheel. Slight finished 3rd in the championship, not 2nd. In my championship year, I fell out with my own team on the same afternoon I won it. A few weeks later, I told Cycle News the sentence that has followed me ever since. I can do whatever I want. There are no limits. No one can stop me. Read it now. That is not the voice of a champion. That is the voice of a man who has nothing left to lose because there is no one left beside him. Niall Mackenzie put it plainly. He treated other human beings like shit. Journalists, teammates, team staff. He once sacked his motorhome driver for using the toilet on a long journey. Slick Magazine, 20 years later, said it more gently. The title came in the twilight of his career, as if John wanted to be reminded of who he was. Put those 2 sentences together, and you understand the tragedy. The year I won my 2nd world title was the loneliest victory of my life. 1994 ended. Cagiva pulled out of Grand Prix racing. I was 27 years old, Third in the 500cc championship. Teams were calling. I chose water. Let me tell you the real reason, not the one people assume. It was not a love of water skiing. It was 4 years in the 500cc class that had worn me down to nothing. Kenny Roberts had turned me into a paddock joke. The European press had made me their favorite punching bag. Suzuki had dropped me mid-season in 1993. At the end of that season, I deliberately blew up my own engine in the final race. That is not the act of a man in control of himself. I needed to disappear from the paddock. Water was the one place with no journalists mocking my habits. No Kenny Roberts telling jokes about me behind my back. No teammate waiting for me to fall apart. Paddock GP later described it this way. Look up the definition of atypical in the Motorsports Encyclopedia. A photo will appear of John Kocinski getting angry, leaving the track, or consciously exploding an engine. Cycle World that same year wrote something harder to read. John Kocinski is living, breathing evidence of the danger of getting what you wish for. He has separated himself from former mentor Kenny Roberts, from former manager Gary Howard, from Yamaha and Suzuki-powered race squads. I told that magazine myself. I was in a mafia. My management company also handled Kenny and Rainey. How is it possible for your manager to be your manager when he is also working for the team owner? 1995 was not the year I chose water skiing. It was the year I chose to have no one around me at all. Shah Alam, Malaysia, the 29th of September 1991, the last race of the season. I took pole position. I set the fastest lap. I won the race. My first ever victory in the 500cc class. 23 years old, beating Wayne Gardner and Mick Doohan on the same afternoon. This should have been the biggest moment of my young career. Instead, let me tell you what happened on the podium. Gardner and Doohan looked at each other. At the same moment, they sprayed champagne straight at me. This was not a normal celebration. They knew exactly what that would do to me. The whole paddock had spent the season laughing at my habits. This was their chance to do it in public. I ran off the stage. I left my own championship celebration. Wikipedia describes that exact moment. On the podium, Gardner and Doohan look at each other and simultaneously spray champagne on Kocinski, who runs off the stage in a panic. Kocinski is notorious for being obsessed with cleanliness. Earlier that same year, I had told the press something that would follow me for the rest of my career. If a rider has not won the world championship within 2 years of starting in the class, they should give up racing. I never won the 500cc title. Not in 2 years. Not ever. Cycle World explained why, that same season. His shoot from the lip, smart-ass cockiness made him the butt of Roberts' paddock jokes and earned him the critical attention of the European media. That champagne on the podium at Shah Alam was the moment I understood something. I was never going to belong in that paddock. Not as a champion, not as anything. Little Rock, Arkansas, my father's van. Weekend trips to amateur races, 2 of us on the road, again and again, for years. My father got me involved in the sport, transferring his passion to me. Almost every other weekend we were in our van and we went running somewhere. Arkansas is not a place that can be called a cradle of motorcycle racing. We were very limited. I made my AMA national debut at Mid-Ohio, 4th place. Wayne Rainey noticed me that day. My second national race I won. I became AMA 250 champion 3 years running, 1987, 1988, 1989. Kenny Roberts brought me to Europe in 1990. I won the 250cc World Championship in my first full season. But here is the part I only understood much later. Years afterward, Kenny Roberts sat down with 2 magazine and talked about 2 riders he had shaped, me and Wayne Rainey. Read how differently he described us in the very same interview. About me, Roberts said, I do not know that he is weird. He has got some habits that a lot of people do not have. It is just some things he does that seem a bit strange. Like he has a bit of a cleaning fetish. Everything has got to be spotless. About Rainey, in that same conversation, Roberts said Wayne Rainey was a very talented rider, but more than anybody he had a burning desire to do it more than anyone else. Our personalities were very close. We understood each other very well. Roberts built me. He took me from Arkansas to a world championship, but 20 years later when asked, he called me strange habits. He called Rainey understood each other. My tragedy did not start on a podium in Malaysia. It started in that van. Because even the man who made me never once believed I was one of his own. So this is where I want to end. March 1982. A 14-year-old boy, his father, a van, a race bike in the back. That night, I had not won anything yet. I had not met Kenny Roberts. I had never heard the words cleaning fetish. I did not know Aaron Slight would ever exist. I did not know what champagne on a podium could do to a person. I only knew one thing. My father was driving, and my father believed in me. That is the only moment in this whole story where someone believed in me without conditions. I never felt I was good enough. But that night, in that van, I did not need to feel good enough. Someone was driving for me, and that was enough for both of us. That is the one thing I never had again.